Welcome to Habs Unfiltered. We are joined by a special guest, the general manager of the Minnesota Wild and four-time Stanley Cup champion, member of the United States Hockey Hall of Fame, Bill Guerin. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
It's not often we get a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, well,
country.
Yeah, it's good to be on. I don't mind doing stuff like this. It's pretty fun, with the Zoom calls. You get even more access to like different markets and things like that in a different way. And I enjoy doing this.
We're really happy we convinced you to come on after we fed you a couple of pitchers of beer. So it was worth the money.
That always helps.
Yeah.
So to get off the bat, Bill, I'm from Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia. I don't know if you know anyone from Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia.
Never heard of it.
But I think you played with someone, some guy who struggled to get to the NHL that's from Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia.
Yeah, a couple guys that really struggled out of there. It's they've really got to work on their youth program.
But I do have a question. It's a trivia question. Do you know the first player to win a Stanley Cup from Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia?
Who?
There's only been 3.
Oh man, really? I feel like I should know this, and I feel like when you tell me I'm going to know, but I don't know.
Joey DePenta.
Oh yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
a question I throw out there because everyone thinks Sydney. Everyone thinks Sydney and that. I'm like, no, it was
Joe DePenta, yeah.
Journeyman defenseman Joey DePenta.
Yeah, right shot, big coho. Yeah. Oh, that's great. I like that. That's funny. I still haven't. I have not been there. I mean, I've been to Nova Scotia. I've been up to the Maritimes, and it's, it's awesome. I love it out there. It reminds me a lot of home, a lot like Massachusetts, and it's a great part of the country.
You're not missing anything in Cole Harbour, seriously.
No, good lobster rolls up there, and I love Alexander Keith's beer is one of my favorites, and it's great stuff.
Yeah. Well, next time you're in, let us know, and we'll feed you all the Alexander beer you want.
Sounds good.
Maybe get you onto a warship, drink on board one of them.
That's right. Yeah.
That'll be a first.
Not for us. So I want to start with your playing career. I mean, you had a pretty interesting career going from NCAA into the NHL and all that. But there's one part that I wanted to know about, and that's that 96 World Cup, that very disappointing loss that Canada suffered. Wanted to get your take on it because you were on the Evil Empire side.
The good guys. Yeah, that was the way I always describe it. It was the fastest, most skilled, intense, dirtiest hockey I've ever been a part of. And it was amazing. Like, when you look at the finals there in that 3-game series against Team Canada, that Team Canada was stacked. I don't know how many Hall of Famers they had, but, we were too. We had a bunch of great players, and it was just a great 3-game series. And we stuck with it. We from our point of view, is that we finally slayed the dragon, and Team Canada had always pushed us around. It was never really a fair fight, and we made it that. And I look back on that with such pride that I got to play in that series, not just for the US and not just to win it, but to play in that series, because that tournament was it was definitely one for the ages, and it really helped propel USA hockey to a different level as well. So I'm really proud of that moment.
Did you get to dine out on that for a couple of years afterwards with some of your old teammates? Get to pick on?
No, that's one of those things that you just kind of, you leave it, and you leave it right there where it happened. And couple days later, I was with Scott Stevens and Scott Niedermeyer and Marty Brodeur, and we were on to other things, and you just move on. And those are type things that you have so much respect for your opponent, and they're your teammates and your friends, and so you'd never. That's just something you wouldn't throw in their face.
How did that compare to winning a cup?
You know what? I think it was just very different. The World Cup doesn't come up all that often compared to the Stanley Cup, which is every year. And when you're a kid and you're growing up, you dream about winning the Stanley Cup. You don't necessarily, you're not playing street hockey thinking of the World Cups and things. But it was a very, very huge time in all of our careers where, like I said, we helped elevate USA Hockey to another level, and it's right up there. I mean, it is special. I mean, that ring, sits right next to my Stanley Cup rings, and it was a really big one. I can't stress enough how important that was to me and all my teammates, and the pride that we have in what we were able to accomplish.
Do you find that is there any Stanley Cup that's more special to you than the other, or are they all pretty equal on equal base?
No, they're all equal. I mean, they're definitely different experiences. When I won in '95 with the Devils, I was young. My wife and I were dating at the time. We had no kids. Then you get to 2009 where we have 4 kids, and we bounced around to a bunch of different teams, and it was kind of like something that made it all worth it. And then the ones in 16 and 17 where I was assistant general manager was a really different experience. But I can tell you this: just because you're not playing doesn't mean anything less. Look, being a player is the best thing. There's nothing that can replace that, it's just a much different experience. But your name still goes on the cup, and you still get the ring, and you still get to enjoy your day with it. It's an experience like no other.
And what have you done on your days with the cup? Did you do anything crazy like some of the other guys we see doing, or were you pretty laid back?
Typical stuff. You make sure that your kids have their experiences with it, and all sorts of stuff. I mean, hey, look, same thing. You throw a big party and just have a
yeah.
I guess the one in we've done a bunch. I guess every time's been different, because like the first time we went, I took it back to my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second time was almost like a wedding without the nuptials. Like we rented out a big restaurant and everybody got dressed up, and it was like a real nice event. And then the third time we had a party in a barn. A neighbor had a big barn with a bar in it and stuff, and a band. And then the fourth time it was we only had like 35 people that we brought into town. It was more intimate and quiet, and it was fun. I mean, they're all great experiences.
So the fourth time,
So
it's like,
have...
no big deal.
Yeah.
No big deal.
No, they start costing a heck of a lot of money. Like, I'm going broke. I'm spending all my bonuses, so we had to put it down.
It's a good thing to give you guys a little bit of cash for winning.
Yeah, that always helps.
40, $50.
Yep. A little more per diem.
Yeah. So to go back to your college days, you came from Boston College to go to New Jersey. What can you explain the experience you had in the NCAA in that last year specifically?
You know what? It was great. I mean, Boston College was my dream school. That was just the school that I always wanted to go to. I visited other schools, but my heart was always at Boston College. And I guess the 2 years that I spent there were kind of critical in my development, because I had a good freshman year, I had a better sophomore year, and I was ready to move on. But I wasn't at that point in time in my life. I don't think I was the most mature guy in the world. So I needed that couple of years to grow as a person as well. And I think Boston College helped me do that. And, I probably wasn't the model student, but I did what I had to get to get through. And it was some of the great years of my life. I loved it.
Do you find that, and this is kind of going into not really your playing career, but do you find back when you were in NCAA, it was harder for you guys? Like nowadays you see the US development program and all that kind of stuff. And I think in 2018 or 19, Caulfield's won, like there's a tremendous amount of first round picks from the US development. Do you find back in your day, it was harder to get noticed by the scouts and that it was more Canadian centric than what it is today?
Well, it definitely, it was definitely, like I said, more Canadian centric. Like it was, the percentage of Canadian players was much higher in the league back then. But I think, since the creation of the NTDP was, they've produced so many high-end players and so many talented players that now, we feel like, I think when you really look at it, that Canada still has the numbers, but when you talk about the high-end players, the upper echelon players, the US is right there with them. And I think because of the NTDP, that's been the main reason. And now all these kids going into college, they're so prepared for it. They're so ahead of, like, we went from high school hockey, or, like I went from basically an independent junior team. The step from where we were to college hockey was huge. These guys are already playing against, USHL college teams, all that stuff. So it's not that big a jump for them. And they know how good they are. They know they can go in and dominate right away. And, that's probably why you see a lot of especially the first round picks, they're not there for too long.
Mm.
Now that experience at school, I mean, beyond learning the ins and outs of development and your play, what was it like to be coached by such a great group of coaches there? And how strict were they with the curfews?
Well, I played for Lenny Siglarski and Steve Cedarchuk there, and a guy, and Joe Mallon. They're our coaches, and they're really good people. They, like I said, my development on the ice was fine. It, like I said, I got better from one year to the next. Curfew, yeah, they didn't check in on us. I guess we were kind of on the honor system and stuff like that. We're pretty good about it. But you played Friday and Saturday night. So Saturday night was pretty much a green light. And then, during football season, before we started playing, football season was great. Cause you got the football Saturdays and stuff like that. We had a really good time.
Doug Flutie was the quarterback at Boston College at that time, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, he was way before me. So he threw that Hail Mary touchdown pass. I think it was 84. So he was, but that was one of the reasons I went. Like when he threw that pass, just the popularity of Doug Flutie in the school, was through the roof. And I was like, yeah, I think I want to go to Boston College, and it just worked out. It was great. I love the school, and then Jerry York came in years later and went on a tear. I think he's got 5 national championships. The program, now an old teammate of mine, Greg Brown, is the head coach, and it's just such a special place. I love the school. I love my time there, and it's good to see one of my old teammates at the helm.
Now, being in the Navy, we get to go down to Boston a lot, and I've had the opportunity to go watch some of these bean pot games that go on in Boston.
Yeah.
I've noticed that they get a little bit physical up in the stands even. So what's the deal with the bean pot?
Well, it's the oldest and best college hockey tournament in the United States. When I played, we were playing in the old Boston Garden, and it was really your first taste of like what it's like to play in a packed NHL rink. And, it's BC, BU, Harvard, and Northeastern. The schools are, they're within a 5-mile radius of each other. And yeah, I haven't been in the stands for too many of them, but yeah, the schools it's very, very competitive, and there's a lot of pride at stake. And like I said, it's a great tournament. And it's first two Mondays in February every year, and it's something that everybody in the area looks forward to.
I know I had a fun time. The parts I remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Do you find with the NCAA that there's any, I know you're a Massachusetts guy, so you're an East Coast, the East Coast League there for NCAA, or I forget the name of it. But do you find there's any one system better than the other, or or is it all pretty much equal across the board? Like you have, if I don't know if I'm getting the question.
Are you talking like college
divisions,
hockey, junior hockey, or
yeah, well, okay, yeah, I'll go that direction. Do you find the college hockey? So there's always a debate here in Canada on which is the tougher division, which makes the better players and stuff like that. My argument's always been you have college hockey where some of the players are playing against older people, they're playing against adults, we'll say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in their 20s, whereas in junior hockey in Canada it's all the same age, and you're going to have a big spectrum of talent, right?
Right.
So do you find, I guess this actually gets into a couple of general manager questions, I guess, but do you find that NCAA players are better prepared to say take the next step to junior players, or is it just basic talent based?
No, I think it goes a little deeper than that too. I think it's more of a culture thing as well. Junior hockey is a part of Canadian culture,
right?
That you do. That's what kids aim to be, is a junior hockey player before they go to the NHL. They know that that's their route. That's their quickest route. American kids, for the most part, are focused on going to college, whether it be for 1 year or 4 years. That's the most popular route. If I'm looking at it as a general manager, it all comes down to the person. It all comes down to the individual. So you can see that, there could be a Canadian kid that's playing junior, but you might shy away from him, like even drafting him, because he's not ready yet, and you're going to have to sign him in 2 years. Where if he went to college and gave himself 4 years to develop, he's going to be far better off in 4 years than he was in 2 years. Where that 2 years where you have to sign him, he's definitely not ready, and he's going to be jumping into something that he's not prepared for. That being said, the junior players, I feel, are so much more. Well, I don't want to say so much more. They're very much prepared for the NHL life. They've been living that life. They know like the game within the game, because there's fighting in junior hockey and there's still intimidation and things like that. That's something that a college player has to learn. Like it's very different. So I think it's more like, it's not just like the skating, the shooting, the games. It's more of a cultural thing and kind of what fits the individual best. I don't know if that made any sense.
No, yeah, that's
makes perfect sense. And being a former player development and former player from the NCAA level, now as a GM, how do you guys go about seeing if the kid is ready to make that jump, if he wants to be early or if you have to wait those 4 years?
Well, I think we just, through experience, and just really getting to know your players and really kind of figuring out what their ceiling is going to be. I remember when I was doing player development, Brian Russ was one of my guys, and he was frustrated. He wasn't playing much at Notre Dame. He was struggling offensively, and he wanted to come out. And Brian's brother was a really good player at the University of Michigan, and he was playing for us in Wilkes-Barre, but was in and out of the lineup. And I asked Brian, I said, you think your brother's a good player? And he's like, yeah, my brother's a good player. And he was a good player. And I said, well, your brother's not even in the lineup every night. And he's better than you right now. So what do you think's going to happen to you? And he's like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah. So be patient. He was coached well by Jeff Jackson at Notre Dame. And by his senior year, 2 more years, he had gotten better his junior year. He got even better his senior year. I think he scored 20 goals. And then he was ready. If he came out after his sophomore year, he wasn't ready, and he probably would have failed because he wouldn't have been able to make the lineups, and he just wouldn't have played. And that's kind of what can happen if you jump into it too early, or if you kind of run out of runway.
So on the subject of player development, because as a Canadiens fan, we've had issues with player development. We think we've had issues with player development for years. When you go through player development, is it a team system, or is it you take individual players and see where they're at in their development, and that's where you go from there? Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's or do you just basically say, this is what we do, either you fit it or you don't?
Yeah, first of all, I'm in no place to comment on any other teams.
No, I understand. Yeah.
This is just what I feel. I think you have to have a philosophy, but then it's also got to be you have to be able to roll with it a little bit too, because, and it's got to be individualized because everybody's different. Everybody develops at a different pace. Usually it takes defensemen and goalies a little bit longer to make it to forwards. It takes a center a little bit longer than a winger. You could have an immature personality compared to somebody that's very mature for their age. So in my philosophy, longer is always better. Like, overcook them. I think Kenny Holland said it best, let them bake, and just let them sit there. You can come out too early, but you can never stay too long. So if there's ever questions, stay and maybe play 3 or 4 years of college, maybe play the 1 extra year junior, because that's only going to give you more confidence. So you take a philosophy and then you individualize it.
Now, with new players coming into your system, what's the approach? Like, you just picked up Faber from the Fiala trade. How do you get about understanding that player a little bit more, much quicker?
Well, we get our player development guys. We have Brad Bombardier, Matt Hendricks, and we just added Cody McLeod, and those guys are hands-on right away. You know what? I've made my contact, with Brock. I've had some conversations with him, but then it's those guys who really start to get to know him, who really start to create that relationship and learn more about him and let him learn a lot more about us. And I think, you just create that bond and that trust that's extremely important, because those guys will be with him, the whole way through. There'll be a support system for him the whole way through, no matter what. So those guys are, critical to a young player's success and to our success. And, for a kid like Faber, they're kind of like the conduit to the organization and make them feel like part of the family already.
What are the biggest changes you see in the NHL today from the NHL when you played? Like, as opposed to building a team or putting a team together and stuff like that? Like, what is there a change in philosophy of the way hockey is played?
Well, the game's much different now. It's much, I don't want to say better. It's always getting bigger, faster, stronger, better, more skilled. Like, the skill is ridiculous now. But I think the biggest thing, or one of the biggest things in my mind, is how young it's gotten. It's a young man's game. You know what? There's no more like, oh, he's a rookie, he can't play in these situations, or, he's got to play here and earn his way up. They got to earn their way on the team. But I remember last year, Matt Boldy and Marco Rossi both played their first game for us in Boston. both of them, their first shifts in the NHL were on the power play. That was unheard of, back in the day. And but I don't mind that, because a lot of times, the transition was really hard going through that, because we were so used to doing it one way for so long. But then, we had many of these discussions when a bunch of us worked, we had a great crew in Pittsburgh. We had to start doing that because a lot of the times those guys were our best players. And why would we, Mike Sullivan was great at it, and Dean Evason's great at it too. Like, why are we going to play a skilled guy on the fourth line just because he's got 10 NHL games or 2 NHL games? Play him in the situation he should be in, no matter what. And I just think it makes just so much more sense.
We've actually talked about that on our show.
Yeah.
Like before. Yeah.
And look, you got, that would be like sticking Cole Caulfield on the fourth line for a year and just say, you got to pay your dues. Why? Yeah. He's a great player. Like, he should be on the power play. He should be on the first line. He should, he's good. Like, same thing with Matt Boldy. He should be on the power play. He should be playing all those minutes because they're good. I don't care how young they are or how inexperienced they are. They're good.
They got to learn the situations they're going to be playing in the future. And if they don't sink or swim, not sink or swim is probably the wrong thing, but they're going to make mistakes, but they need to make mistakes in the situation they're in to correct them. Am I wrong on that? Like,
no, 100%. They're going to make mistakes. But you know what? We got guys making, $6, $7, $8, $9 million and make mistakes.
Yeah.
Everybody makes them. We all make them. And it's just, but you continue to learn, no matter how old you are, how much you make. You continue to learn.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned Dean Evason's work with the younger guys. I noticed that Joel Eriksson Ek had a massive jump in his play in the last 2 seasons. How is he? What was he missing before you guys showed up?
Opportunity. I mean, he had been pigeonholed into that, you're only going to be a third line center. You're going to kill penalties, no power play. He's got so much offense, and we pushed him. Like, Dino and I had a meeting with him. It's like, no, score. We want you to, we won't be mad at you if you score. Like, take a few chances here and there. We love how responsible you are, but you know what? Go for a breakaway. You know what? Yeah, play. And he's a hell of a player. And that's what I love about Dino, is that, like, Dean is so simple, and that is the biggest compliment I can give him, because he's like, you know what? I don't give a crap about all that other shit. He goes, give me the players, I'll coach them. And he sees the positive in everybody, and he'll put guys in a position to succeed. He's unbelievable like that.
So, having said that, with you, does your coach have an input on the type of players you bring into the team or the type of decisions you make? Or is it more you make the decision and go, is this going to fit? Like,
no, listen, I include Dino in as much as I can. But we kind of have an agreement that, look, I'm going to do my job. You know what? I'm going to manage. He's going to coach, and the players are going to play. That being said, I hired Dean as a coach because him and I are very in line with, our personalities are the same. The way we view hockey is the same. The way we like the game played is the same. The way we trust young players is the same. So we're in line on a lot of things. I kind of keep him up to speed with maybe the type players that we're going to get, or we could get this guy. But Dean has never once come to me and said, this guy stinks, get rid of him. We need this type of guy or anything. He's never done that. And I really respect that, because I do feel that, a lot of coaches say, this guy stinks, he can't play. Well, no, he doesn't. He's in the National Hockey League. He doesn't stink. You got to coach him better. And I give Dino a lot of credit. for never doing that. He always just looks to help the guys.
There you go, Blaine. That's what you need to start doing.
I can't do it. I just can't do it. There's no talent underneath me. I can't do it.
It starts with the coaching, Blaine.
Hey, we won 10 national championships.
Yeah. Beer league.
Hey, a win's a win.
A win's a win.
That's right.
Yeah, a win's a
Win's
win.
We win free beer. That's 10 free
Hey, I'll
cases
take
right there.
that. I'll take that.
Now, you took over Minnesota and had this reputation of being a very boring hockey team. But in the last 2 years, they've turned into one of the better entertainment value teams that you can possibly watch. Like, I think this year you guys had, I think it was the best or second best season that franchise has ever had.
Yeah, it's the best season.
Now, unfortunately, the playoffs didn't quite go the way you guys wanted. Was that, you mentioned the intimidation factor earlier? Was it some of that, or was it just a lack of experience?
You know what? It definitely wasn't intimidation. I think it was a lack of execution at the right time. You know, I look back on our series against St. Louis, and they're a very experienced team. A lot of those guys have won a Stanley Cup. In Game 4, we had a great opportunity when they had lost 3 defensemen, and they were really undermanned, and we kind of got away from our game. We took our foot off the gas, got away from our game plan. We didn't execute our game plan, and that really hurt us. So meant the mental toughness to just stick with it and stick with it and stick with it wasn't quite there that game. And that really, I think that was the pivotal game of the series. But that, again, that's something to learn from. And if you look at, all these teams that have won Stanley Cups, including the Tampa Bays, man, there's been some heartbreak along the way. And it just doesn't happen with a snap of your fingers. You got to go through some pain. And I was extremely proud of our team and guys as a team and individuals of the season that we had. And yeah, we are a fun team to watch, and we play a great style, and we have one of the most exciting, dynamic young players in the game, in Kirill Kaprizov. And we kind of go hell bent for leather, and it's I give Dino a lot of credit to play that way, and it's fun.
Has Krill come close to a ceiling yet, or are we going to see more out of him?
I think you're going to see more.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see more, and I think he's just going to keep getting better and better. I really do, and he's just he's special. He really is. It's not just the point production; it's the way he does it. There was one game we were down against St. Louis, and you could just see it. He's trying to put the team on his back. He's trying to get everybody going, and this is just really his. I mean, it was his second year in the league, but his first real taste of the NHL with fans in the building again and all that stuff. And he's just electric.
Do you think he doesn't get enough press because you guys are in the Western Conference and the Eastern media doesn't really pay that much attention? Because when I watch him, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Pavel Bure.
Yeah, I mean, he is like that. He's explosive. He can kind of come out of nowhere, and next thing you know, it's in the back of the net. I just think it'll take time, really. There's so many great players in the league now that it's it's tough to pump all their tires. But Kirill is, I put him up there with the best. I really do. He's incredible. He really is. And to watch him on a nightly basis is a lot of fun.
Now, there was a couple of months back, there were some problems in Russia. Have you guys been able to send a SEAL team, get them back home? Or?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We called in Minnesota Wild Special Forces.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be
So
all
no
set.
problems there then.
No, we
He's
should
good
be.
though.
Just a couple questions about the draft. So when you go into a draft, any particular draft, do you have a certain list of players that you want that you think are going to go at certain places, or is it just here's the list, here's what I think these guys might pick, but if they don't, you understand what I'm saying? Like, how do you,
Yeah.
go to your draft
Well,
board? And
to be completely honest, I leave that up to Judd Brackett and his, he's the director of amateur scouting for us. He does a fantastic job. And him and his group, they take all their areas and mesh their, all the regions and kind of fine tune it and move players around. But when we go in, it's a very detailed list. And as players get picked, we mark them off. And it is quite amazing to me though, like how accurate they can be, how accurate Judd can be. He told us 7 names before the draft even happened. I think a couple weeks before it even happened. I think we got 5 of those guys. Like it's incredible how they can all just kind of fine tune it. And I think we have the best. I think Judd's the best in the business, and he's been great for us. So it's something that I really leave it to those guys. I trust them, and we've got a nice stable of good young players that are going to help us sooner than later.
Yeah, one of them is Marco Rossi, and I wanted to know how well has he recovered from his health issue from a couple of seasons ago?
Yeah, he's 100% healthy. That's one of those things, like you have a good young player drafted very high, but he had some health concerns from COVID, and he missed a year. And I think everybody was really anxious to see him in Minnesota last year and really want to see him play. And I understand that, but that wasn't going to be the best thing for Marco Rossi. If we were, I guess selfish might be a strong word for it, but selfish and risking his career and his success just so we can, stick him in our lineup, that would have been wrong. And so we kept him in Iowa, the whole year except for 2 games. And he did everything we asked of him. He was a point of game player. He was played in all situations. He played big minutes, all the things that he wasn't going to do in Minnesota. So now he's got that experience, and now we're looking for him to push this year to make the team.
Right.
Sorry, I got distracted there, but I'm in a condo in Ottawa, and our parking garage is getting fixed. I didn't know where to park, so I had to find out where I could park my truck. First, I didn't even know it would fit in, but so you got Marco Rossi, you got a good young group of players. Are you so we always go with this rebuilding, contending, whatever. Where on the stage do you think you guys are right now? Like, to me, I would say you're a pretty good playoff position team, but do you find, is there another building block you got to put in there before you think you guys can take the next step?
Yeah, I expect to take the next step no matter what.
Okay.
We absolutely need this next generation of players to at some point in time help put us over the top. I think the fortunate thing is, like, when I came in and took this job, I looked at the roster, and there were guys like Spurgeon, Brodin, Dumba, Eric Sinek, Foligno, Zuccarello, guys like that, Greenway, that's a really solid core of players right there. I really didn't feel that we had to burn it all down and start from nothing. And I just believe in that group of guys. And I think now that we've we've added the Boldies, we've added, Goudreau and Jost, and guys like, Kaprizov obviously came in. Ryan Hartman's had a resurgence, and it's just we've kind of added as we've gone along without getting rid of first round picks and second round picks, third round picks, things like that. So we've been able to do a little kind of restocking the shelves, if you will, on the fly, without really sacrificing our on ice product.
All right, and now, geez, what was I got distracted too. I got my kids running around the house. Actually, yeah, I'm going to ask you about that. You were a player. You're a hockey dad.
Yeah.
I've been trying to convince my son that he doesn't have to play hockey year round. How important is it to play other sports?
I think it's super important. I just think there's so much stress on the young kids nowadays, like, and they're single sport athletes. Like, just be a kid, like, hey, I get it. You know what? You want to be a good hockey player. You want to be I get it. But you know what? There are guys that I played with, they can't throw a ball. Like, it's incredible. And there are certain guys that they're just hockey players, and they can't even have a conversation. Like, if you're not talking about hockey, they can't carry a conversation. Like, and I think a lot of that is lost. And you know what? I don't know. Like, I guess I could go on for hours and hours, but I do worry about the kids in today's world with single sport and so much pressure and scholarships and this and that, and social media. Social media, it's great, but it also stinks. And it just there's just so much pressure on them. So I'd love to see kids playing multiple sports. It's a nice break, and it does make you a better athlete. It really does. And yeah, I mean, I'm just a big believer in that.
Do you think social media and that pressure is a big reason why some players stay away from teams like Montreal, Toronto, New York? They just want to, like they understand that they're historic teams, but they want to kind of stay out of that pressurized limelight? Or do you think it's?
I actually kind of disagree with you. I think they're going back to that. I don't think they. I think these kids are, in a way, they're better equipped to handle it than ever before, because they bring that, they want that attention, they want the social media stuff, but it can also be damaging too. Mm-hmm. I still do think they're some of the young players that don't care about it or would shy away from it, but I do think that there are the kids that really welcome the attention. Hockey players are they're not that introverted, boxed answer in an interview anymore. Like, there's more personality in the game than ever, which is great. I have a love-hate relationship with social media, because I do love it. Like, my kids always bust my chops. I love TikTok. Like, I get a kick out of it. I just love it. I'm on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook. I got off Twitter almost 2 years ago now, because it was too negative. There's just too much shit being said out there with no accountability. So I get the positives, but I also get the negatives, and it's a really tough balancing act. And it's got to be hard for a player. It's hard enough to play and put pressure on yourself and want to perform. But then if you're one of those players that needs to know what people are saying, or if your wife or girlfriend needs to know what people are saying, oh boy, it can get real ugly, because there's some nasty people out there saying some stuff that would never say it to your face.
Yeah. Now we write for the Hockey Writers, and we get that all the time when we put an article out. Like, it's a commentary / opinion piece. Like, you can disagree, but you don't have to be a dick about it. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you know what, like I said, there's some great things about social media. Yeah. But like, you know, I mean, so much of it leads to, you know, the anxiety and depression in young people. You know, it's because you see everybody living their best life, and, you know, half the time they're full of crap. You know, nobody lives a perfect life. Everybody's down in the dumps sometimes, but nobody posts that.
Yeah.
And it's just, it can be really tough for these young kids. So I just think it's, you know, it can be dangerous. And you know what, the other thing is too, for the players or the coaches or the managers, like, you know, the people that are saying the negative things on social media, if they saw that player out in a bar or restaurant, they would probably ask for an autograph and a picture. They wouldn't say that to their face. They never would. It's just the way it is. And that bothers me too. If you wouldn't say it to somebody's face, you shouldn't be saying it on social media.
Yeah, Blaine. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
I've always said you're a bastard. Always.
That being
Don't
said,
worry,
I'm going
Treg.
to comment on you guys right now.
Now, you're friends with the Canadiens general manager, Kent Hughes. Is that pressure something that he was concerned with?
You know what? I don't know. I don't think it was the pressure. I mean, Kent had built such a great business, well, you know, over years and years of hard work, that he had something pretty good going. You know, he had great clients. He was on kind of autopilot there, and you know, that job is incredibly tough, and in any market, but you know, especially Montreal. And I think he's doing a fantastic job. I think him and Jeff together are a really good team. They're good people and smart, and you know, I think they're doing a fantastic job.
Do you think, does it bother you that now Kent doesn't care about the salary cap or now that he cares about the salary cap?
That a lot different now.
Kent said in an interview, he goes, a lot of general managers are asking me why I all of a sudden care about the salary cap when I didn't before. So
yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah. No, it seems like he was built for it though. He's really handling it well. And you know, he's just, they're moving ahead, and they've got guts, and they've got, you know, they're you know, they're doing the right things. And you saw the job that Jeff did in New York, and I just think they're a really good team. And yeah, it's funny to see Kent on the other side now.
Now, has Kent against?
Oh, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, has Kent ever come to you for advice or anything like that, or like do general managers do that just off the side?
Yeah. We do it all the time, and you know, it's just something you do. You know, some guys are closer than others, and you know, but you can always lean on each other, you know, for different advice, or bounce ideas off of guys. And you know, I've got a handful of guys that I do that with all the time, and yeah, it's good. It's nice to have that.
Go ahead there, Blaine.
Okay. Now, when you were a player, you sat in through the emergence of the salary cap, and you were on the other side of the table. Was that something that kind of piqued your interest as to what and to kind of become a manager?
Oh yeah. It was, you know, you went to, you know, Mike Gartner told me, he's like, you're going to hockey business 101 when you take this responsibility on. And it was, he was bang on. He was right. It gave me the opportunity to get an inside look at the real business of hockey. You know, not just, you know, player salaries and trades and things like that. It was the real business, like the you know, the drive behind the money, the drive behind the ownership's want for a salary cap, why they felt it needed to happen. And I got the experience of actually sitting across the table from, you know, Gary Bettman, Bill Daly, a bunch of the owners, and my current owner, Craig Leopold, was on the owner's side, and just seeing how they reacted and how they handled themselves. And it was, Yeah, I always encourage young players to get involved in the PA. It's a fantastic organization that not only like looks after the players, but you can learn a lot if you're involved. And I think it's important for guys to take that interest and ownership in their own career and in their own their union.
To slide back to your playing career, who was your toughest opponent and who was the toughest goal? Who do you feel was the toughest goalie in the NHL in your time?
Oh man, my time. Toughest opponent? Oh boy. Oh, God, I mean, there's so many of them. I think, playing against Mario, when we used to go into Pittsburgh and they had like 7 or 8 Hall of Famers, on their team. When Mario was out there, he's 6'6" or whatever he is, 6'5". He had such good hands. He was one step at, he was so rangy too. There was literally nothing you could do. Like you tried to stop him, but there was almost just no stopping him. And I think just seeing him, so often being in the East, there are other guys that played hard. They're abrasive. Like Mark Messier was incredible, incredibly tough to play against. So was Eric Lindros. But Mario, there was almost like no defense. Like you couldn't stop him. And then goaltenders, obviously Marty Brodeurs and Patrick Waz. J.S. Jaguar was really tough. He was really good. He was just like one of the first guys that was just like one of those blocking goalies. So when you were coming down the wing and you looked to take a shot, there was like you couldn't see anything. And so he was really good too. And Mike Richter was phenomenal. There's and then Dominator played against some great goalies. Like I could keep going. They were, I guess if they stunk, I would have scored more.
But they didn't stink because they're in the NHL.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah, you're right.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to score, but what do I know? I'm just a beer leaguer.
Yeah,
I play lacrosse.
You got championships, though.
Yeah.
Beer.
I play lacrosse, so I definitely wasn't scoring.
I love lacrosse. Lacrosse is my second love. I played in middle school and high school. We played field hockey, field lacrosse.
Yeah.
But I love it. Lacrosse is a great game.
Yeah, I played lacrosse since I was 10 years old, semi-pro. I played over in Prague, over in Yager's hometown there, and all over the world. I just love it.
That's great. That game is just spectacular. My 3 daughters all played college lacrosse, so it's my son didn't love it. He likes hockey, but I love lacrosse. Lacrosse is great.
There you go, Blaine. No else played? Neuendijk, Gretzky, Shanahan.
Yeah. It's a great game. It's great for hockey players.
I mean, why are you crapping on me, Treg? I played too.
Yeah, but not very well.
No. I was really good at slashing.
Well, that's how you check.
That's checking.
What slashing?
Oh yeah. I went through a couple of lacrosse sticks a week.
Yeah.
Now you were talking about the social media aspect earlier, and one thing that it's good for is letting players know when they're traded. Before social media existed, how hard was it for you? Because you got traded more than once. Did you find out in any novel ways at any point about a trade?
Yeah, I mean, my first trade, a reporter called me asking if it was true that I got traded. I said I didn't know, but then Lou talked to me, and I was. But the second time I got traded was I was traded from Edmonton to Boston. I was at the West Edmonton Mall, and my daughter was taking skating lessons, and I was just watching her. And the guy standing next to me was kind of staring at me, and I was so I looked at him. I said, "How you doing?" And he's like, he said, "Billy, I'm surprised to see you here." I'm like, well, I'm just watching my daughter take her skating lessons. He said, well, I thought you'd be gone by now. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, I heard on the radio on the way in here that you were traded. I'm like, what? Yeah, I had a cell phone then too, but I just left it in the car. You didn't always have to have your cell phone back then. So I went and I jumped on a payphone and used my calling card to call my agent. And I had in fact been traded. I had in fact had been traded to the Boston Bruins. And that's how I found out about my second one. Yeah, it was crazy.
How is Kevin Weeks finding out about all these moves before everybody else? That's what I want. That's what I really want to know.
That's what I'd like to know too.
he got
The
insiders
inside
of insiders.
I don't think it's, I know these guys, I know everybody's doing their job, but I and I know all the other general managers feel the same way, that it's not helpful. Because the players involved have families and it's their lives. And, we all feel like they should be notified before the public. And, hey, look, everybody's just doing their job. It's no hard feelings or anything like that. And it's entertainment. But I feel bad for the guys that find out through social media.
Yeah, when I manage large groups at work, and you got to be a little bit detached. It's business-like. You got to treat it like the job, but there's a balance. Like, where do you find your line between being personal and being business-like?
With as to the trades,
to just being a general manager.
Yeah.
You know what? I remember somebody telling me once early on, like, you got to be a little more buttoned up or this or that. And I'm like, and I tried that for a little while and it just didn't feel right. Didn't work. Wasn't me. I think you have to be yourself. And, I'm a social person. I like interacting with players, with, other GMs, with fans, with media. I'm just a social guy. I think people that know me know that I can be social. I can have a good time. I can be funny, whatever. But when it comes down to business, I can make the tough decisions, and I will. That has nothing to do with how we interact on a daily basis. I have a job to do, and I'm going to do it. But you know what? I'll always, say hi to you in the hallway, and I'm never too busy to, stop and have a conversation and things like that. So it's, try not to take myself too seriously also.
Have you ever made a move or decision that you regretted? Well, I mean, I suppose you have, but is there any ones, like when you're talking trade with another team, actually, let me rephrase this. When you're talking trade, like there's always says there's trades you need to win, there's trades you need to lose. Have you ever gone into a trade knowing that you're probably going to get the worst end of this, but it was going to be better for the team in the long run? Or do you always go out to try to make the best trade you can make to improve the team?
Just best trade I can do to improve the team. I don't look to win a trade, or I always try to make fair deals. If somebody's trying to win a trade, it's really off-putting. I don't think many guys do, but I also find if you're too busy trying to win the trade, you're going to have a hard time making the trade. And you know what? I'm going to do what's best for my team. If you think I lost the trade, I don't care. You know what? I'm making my move. I'm making my decision, and I'm putting it in the rearview mirror. That's it. And you know what? And I learned a lot of this from Jim Rutherford, and Jim made a lot of moves. If it didn't work, he'd try to fix it. You know what? He'd just say, you know what? This isn't working. I'm going to move again, and I'll try this one. And he just kept going and going. And, I learned a lot from that. Like, you're never going to bat 1,000, but you just keep going. And, and don't look back.
Yeah, and the only reason I asked is because that's a big thing in the fan world. Oh,
Yeah.
who wins the trade? Who won, lost, and who won the trade? And I never looked at Blaine and I talk about this all the time. I don't look at trades that way. Yeah,
I can't listen to that. And yeah, hey, look, every general manager is just doing what they can for their team, and you never know. Even for me, looking on the outside, like, you can look at any trade that's made. I don't know what's going on in the inside there. Do you have to cut costs? Do you have to, wait and get a pick back? Do you have to, like, I don't know the inside story to every team. I know the inside story to one team, and that's mine.
Yeah, I mean, some teams it depends on the situation. Some are rebuilding, so they're trying to give the older players another chance at winning somewhere else, or, like you said, they just want some picks so they can start building towards that.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's got their own style too. Like, I don't think I don't hold grudges. I don't hold things against guys or anything like that. We're all just, it's hard. We're just doing our best, and we're all just trying to make our teams better and compete for the Stanley Cup. So a lot of teams are in different stages than others, but you really just have to respect the guy that you're trying to do a deal with.
Trey?
No,
No?
that.
Well, I'm pretty much tapped out for
Yeah.
all the questions that I was going to have. What about you, Trey?
I was going to ask for some Sidney Crosby stories, but you don't like the guy, so I'm not going to.
I didn't want to
He's
say
funny. He is funny. I tell you what, he's such an awesome guy. I can't say enough good things about him. I look back to those Pittsburgh days as some of my favorite, and he's just, I cannot believe he was 22 years old when we won that Stanley Cup in 2009. I think he's 34 now, 35.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Oh my God. I remember God, we had some fun together, man. Just some great laughs. Just to see the leader that he's turned into, and what he's done in the game. He's the best, man. They don't come better than that.
I can't imagine why he wouldn't have invited you to his house in all these years. I mean,
We don't like
the guy could he be?
We don't like each other that much.
Didn't you move to a place where your house is on Crosby Lane or something like that? Or
yeah. And it kills me. I sent a picture back to all the boys from 09, and I, like, with my head against the street sign, like, I can't get away from it. But it's great. Yeah. He's a special guy.
Well, I just want to say, Bill, thanks for coming on. We appreciate your time. Unless, Blaine, you got something else, I think we're just about to wrap it up.
One question.
Yeah.
If you weren't doing hockey, what would you want to do?
You know what? I've been asked that before. I don't know, because I never planned on anything else. And this is what I love to do. It's my passion. It's what I'm good at. It's my life. I just love it. If I had to do something else right now, honestly, I would love to. I'd love to, like, get in the beer business. I love the craft breweries that are out there now and all that stuff. I know it's a lot of hard work and things like that, but I'd love to do something like that. Just something kind of out of the box that I've never been able to do before. But that would be a lot of fun. I'm not built for office life or anything like that. Something like that would be really cool.
Well, Bill, thank you for coming on the show. I mean, you're one of the few people that actually followed through. I mean, Marty St. Louis has said that he's going to come on, but he never has.
Oh, come on. He'll be on.
Probably because he can't.
Once we
It's probably because he can't believe I'm a grandfather. When I went to get the picture with him,
yeah,
there's 3 kids on my phone. He goes, "Oh, is that your kids?" I said, "No, it's my grandkids, and we're the same age." So he's like, "Your grandkids." So scared him. Well, I don't know. I scared Bergevin away at the Ritz. Maybe I scared Marty St. Louis away at the Orchard. I don't know.
No, he'll be on. I'll see you guys there next time. That's a great spot. I love it.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
We'll probably see you in Nashville, or if that's where it's being held.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what the rumor is. So we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see. All right. Thanks, Bill. Thanks for being on. Really
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much, Bill.
Thanks for having me, guys. Have a good rest
Yeah.
of your summer.
Yeah. And good luck
You
with the
too.
team next year.
Thanks.